What's good, everybody? Take Hazy back here, and we are going to wrap up the top matches and top wrestlers of 2025. So let's do wrestlers first, and then we will jump into the matches. We'll probably bounce in between a little bit. Coming in at number 10 for Wrestler of the Year in 2025, I have Flamita. Real shocking to see where he ranked at the end of the year, but every time Flamita came into Dragongate, he was just awesome. He had a good run in April and May with Natural Vibes. I think he stayed through a lot of the spring and summer, but naturally kind of transitioned into those Team Mexico roles with Monte. They ended up winning the Dragongate belts in one of my top 10 matches of the year. So just kept him in Japan. He also challenged Ryota Tanaka. So he had 6 4-star matches altogether. That aforementioned Tanaka match, the Triangle Gate match where they wrestled the Noah Mexicans, Dragon Bay and Alpha Wolf Super Crazy, the 3-way Team Mexico Love&Peace D-Courage match, the Hyo versus Hyo match, and the Dead or Alive Triangle Gate match that I was live for, as well as the match in the top 10. Let's get through the wrestlers, and then we'll talk about the top 10 top 10 matches. Coming in at number 9 is Bandido, the ROH World Heavyweight Champion. Started the year getting put over by Chris Jericho. Nothing really in-ring to talk about there as far as greatness, but I do think Chris did a good job putting over one last guy on his way out. Was having incredible world title matches in ROH while forming the Bandido tag team in AEW, resulting in him having 6 4-star matches altogether. Bandido versus FTR, the 4-way ladder match, Bandido, Young Bucks, Josh Alexander, Hechicero, and Jet Speed. His match against Masquerade Dorada from CMLL, match against Takeshita at Death Before Dishonor the night before All In, Bandido against Takeshita and Okada, and then the match against Hechicero. I think that was Death Before Dishonor. I think the Takeshita match was Supercard of Honor. Coming in at number 8 is Shun Skywalker, the ace of Dragongate. Shun is a very interesting character to watch. There's no one quite like him in wrestling, but he really shines through in his work. He does a lot of the little stuff, so I feel like you don't even quite notice it at the beginning, but he really sucks you in with his work and his character work, and he can do everything. So he kind of sneaks a lot of the smaller stuff in. I think the character is so outlandish and weird, you kind of get lost in that somewhat, but the ring work is just as good as the character work. He had the Kobe World title match against YAMATO. He had the Triangle Gate match where he won with Hamari and Gianni Valletta. The Dead or Alive cage match. That wasn't the Dead or Alive cage match. The Dragon Gate USA main event. That 4-way trios match from November 2nd. And then I also really loved his first round match against Naruki Doi for King of Gate. I feel like there's other stuff on here, but I think the way I got the filter set up is a bit weird. Oh, yeah. Yeah, the tag match against JackyRiiita, him and Hamari from Rey de Parejas is also on there. And then he also, had the main event in Dangerous Gates against Kikta. I really liked his match against Geiki Horiguchi, even though it was like 90 seconds. Very excited to see what Shun does in the following year, now that I'm fully invested in the character. Coming in at number 7 is Will Ospreay. Even with missing time with injury, Ospreay arguably the best wrestler in the world. When he's in pay-per-view matches, he delivers. That's just what he does. Even someone not super high on his year overall, he got to work enough pay-per-views that he delivered in these matches. The cage match against Fletcher, the cage match at Forbidden Door, the finals against Hangman, the TV match against Takeshita. I think that was in the semifinals of the Owen, the all-in tag match. All those I went above 4 stars on. Not super high on the rest of his year. Everything else is sub 4 stars for me. But it all adds up. And I think had he been healthy for 12 months, he'd be higher on this list. 2026, likely going to be the same issue. He's probably not coming back till halfway through the year. But I would not be surprised at all if he's in the top 10 again. Coming in at number 6 is Gabe Kidd. Gabe Kidd started the year off incredibly with that match against Kenny Omega, which is in the top 10. But he also had great chemistry with Tsuji throughout the year. He came over to AEW, so he was in that Forbidden Door cage match. He worked Darby Allin, which is always a good time. And I think as I lost interest in New Japan, I missed a lot of the summer and fall months. but I think he had a couple other matches against the top guys. He never got around to the David Finlay feud, which was kind of what I was waiting for. So I'm a little bummed at that. But very, very standout year. Even if he didn't quite reach the heights that he was hitting in Q1 the rest of the year, I think still very solid work overall. Coming in at number 5 is Hirooki Goto. The G in IWGP finally stood for Goto this year. Him winning the belt at New Beginnings. That match makes my top 10 matches of the year. But he also had great defenses against David Finlay. He had a great challenge against Takeshita in November. I really liked his Chicago match against Shota Umino. And then obviously he defended against other guys throughout the year. Tanahashi, Yuji Nagoya, Callum Newman. Thought all those matches were good, not quite great. A very standout year overall for him. Working a lot of New Japan main events is obviously a good recipe to get high on this list. Coming in at number 4 is Sareee. I think far and away the best in-ring women's wrestler in the world. The freelance style allows her to work a lot of stuff, which is why I saw more of her than any other Joshi. But I also just seeked it out because she's so awesome and fun to watch. She had one match in my top 10, fared a bit better before the rewatches, but it's still hang on to the top 10. Obviously, she had the Hashimoto match. She had the trilogy against Sareee. 2 of the matches here notable, and then one match in my top 10. I also liked her match against Sakamoto in January, and the match against Venny in January as well, and Seedling. Coming in at number 3 is my favorite tag team of the year. Should be no surprise if you follow the channel, JackyRiiita. These guys are just awesome as a tag team. I thought far and away the best tag team of the year. They have one match in my top 10. Pretty much any time they were in a prominent tag team spot, they got a 4-star rating, whether that was tag or trios. They were in the Hyo versus Hyo match. They were in the Twin Gate match against D-Courage where they won the belts. They challenged Kota Lee at Gate of Bayside to start the year. This match has a lot of people in it. Let's see. That is the 3-way match that keeps coming up. D-Courage, Love&Peace, and Team Mexico. They faced off against Roya Tanaka and Kikta, I think, in an opening match in February, Corrigan, that I went 4 stars on. They had the match against Shuda Mari at Rey de Parejas. And now, as the Twin Gate champions heading into 2026, I expect kind of more of the same in 2026. Dragongate realizes what they got in these guys in tag work. They also can deliver in singles work. Not quite as fond of them singles. Both of them have had Brave Gate challenges. I don't think I went 4 stars on either. But I'm still excited to see more of them nonetheless. Coming in at number 2 is Kyle Fletcher. Ace up the sleeve for AEW here. I'm not as high on Fletcher overall as a lot of people. But even with saying that, the resume speaks for itself. He benefited, obviously, from working Mark Briscoe like 5 times this year. Him and Mark have great chemistry. But even besides that, he had the cage match with Ospreay. He had a great showing in the C2 against Speedball and John Moxley. And went 4 stars, 4.25 on both of those. He had 3 4-star matches with Briscoe on the year. He had the match where he won the belt from Dustin Rhodes. That was very good. He had the all-out main event against Hangman. That was very good. And he also had the Hiromu match at Forbidden Door that I thought was a lot of fun. Not quite 4 stars. I went just under 4 stars as well, the C2 match against Pac. So the volume there is really only rivaled by one person. That's who came in at number 1, is Konosuke Takeshita. Like Kyle Fletcher, despite them being the top 2 on the list, I didn't have either of them actually with a top 10 match. They are here more so volume. The floor is so high with these guys that despite not being in the top 10, despite not having a 5-star match, they still were far and away ahead of the pack. The only people even really in the running with them was JackyRiiita, but still, JackyRiiita is much closer to Sareee and to Hirooki Goto than they were to Fletcher. And Fletcher wasn't really close to Takeshita. So let's see. Overall, Takeshita has far and away the most 4-star matches on the year for me. He had 11 4-star matches out of 49. I only went 49. Oh, no, sorry, that's not right. 49 above 4-star matches. Let's see how many 4s did I have on the year. I had 106 4-star matches on the year. Takeshita was in 11 of them. So just the floor of this guy is insane. Best match was against Bandido at Full Gear. But he also wrestled Takeshita. He wrestled Bandido. Wrestled Okada. Mascara Dorada. Hirooki Goto. Shingo Takagi. Oleg Boltin. Orange Cassidy. I liked the match against Angel De Oro and CMLL. I went 4 on that. I went 4 on the Chicago main event against Hiroshi Tanahashi and Tanahashi's U.S. retirement. 4 on the match against Zack Sabre Jr. So he had the benefit of working a lot of the best guys in the world, but those guys also worked a lot of the best in the world. They didn't have 11 4-star matches. Takeshita did. I would love to see a lot more of these matches in AEW, although 3 of his top 4 matches I did have in AEW this year. I mean, part of having a triple contract is why he has this volume, but I would also like to see him be put in the same kind of prominent position that like Ospreay is in the company. All right, so that wraps up our top 10 wrestlers, so let's do our top 10 matches of the year. Coming in at number 9 is the aforementioned, the first of the trilogy, which was my favorite, Sareee versus Syuri from Sareee-ISM in March 10th. I thought the striking and brutality was just great in this match. I think it did hurt on rewatch knowing that it was going to a draw, because I knew a finish wasn't coming. So a lot of the work they did feel a bit more of stretching than just beating the crap out of each other. But on first watch, especially if you don't know the finish, I think this match is just a blast from start to finish. Same with this following match at number 9. This is, I don't even want to say it's a vanity pick because I am shocked that these guys made the list, but I just thought this match was that good. It was the last match. It was the semi-main event of the last show Dragongate put on of the year. Opened the Triangle Gate match, Love and Peace, against the formerly known as Mochizuki Dojo. Hyo Benkei Mochizuki Jr. against Daiki, Yangiuchi, Akira, Sahara, and Roya Fuda. This match was just a barn burner from start to finish. I was very caught off guard. I think the fact that the people in this match had this good of a match is part of the reason it's up here. But I also just think this match actually delivered at that level. This is the best I've seen Roya Fuda, Akira, Sahara, and Daiki Yangiuchi. They kind of saved their best for last in the year, all at the same time. Mochizuki Jr. had found his rhythm, and I think Love and Peace in general really found their chemistry all together. I think knowing that JackyRiiita were going to be a tag team, Hyo Benkei and Mochi Jr. were a bit of an odd pairing to start the year. Especially, it took a little while for Hyo to incorporate into the group, but now they just mesh well together. Very deserving of the Triangle Gate belt. And these 6 guys just put on an absolute barn burner. I watched this match live. On the second the 3 count was hit and the bell rang, I rewound the match and just started it again from start to finish. It was that good. I wanted an immediate encore. I can't recommend this match enough. I don't think it's going to be on anyone else's top 10 list of the year, but I absolutely adored it. Coming in at number 8 was Kenny Omega versus Gabe Kidd from New Japan's Wrestle Dynasty. The return of Kenny Omega and Gabe Kidd absolutely brought it. Watching this live, I went 5 stars on it. It was such a moment watching it live, being excited to see Kenny, wondering if Kenny could still bring it, and he brought it to the best of his abilities. I think it took a lot out of him because I don't think he was nearly the same level the rest of the year. And I think knowing that on rewatch, watching this in December instead of January, hampered a lot of the magic of the match. Still an absolutely phenomenal match. So on rewatch, I gave things kind of a plus and minus score as well as the score. So I lowered this to 4.5 plus, which means it's probably 4 3/4. I wanted to just give myself a little flexibility for the rankings. So I think this is just a notch under 5-star match, probably 4 3/4 stars, somewhere between 4.5 and 4 3/4. The brutality still delivers. This very much in my review in January, I said this felt like more of a fight than a match. It still felt that way. And I think it really delivered. But knowing how limited Kenny is later on in the year, I could see the smoke and mirrors a little bit more in the rewatch, which made it a little less special. Coming in at number 7 is Hirooki Goto, winning the IWGP title from Zack Sabre Jr. at New Beginnings. Similar story here. 5 stars watching this live. Having the magic spoiled on rewatch made it a little less special. Still a very well-worked match. I think the pacing of this match was great for a 20-minute match. It never lulled at all, but it just didn't have that same magic, which is why it fell all the way down here to number 7. But very good. My favorite Goto match, my favorite Sabre match of the year even removing kind of the magic and heartfelt feelings of Goto winning the belt. Still a phenomenal match. Probably a smidge under 5 stars as well. Coming in at number 6 is Yamato defending the Open the Dreamgate title against Masaaki Mochizuki. The 2 old guys here at Dragongate was my second favorite Dragongate match of the year. Bit surprising. Wouldn't have expected that, but Mochizuki can still fucking go, man, at the age of 55, now 56. And this was my favorite Yamato Dreamgate title defense of his run. I thought Yamato was phenomenal, really, from start to finish. But Mochizuki still was able to bring the best out in him. I thought the kind of desperation and story they told was great, especially the way they tied in his story with the Mochizuki dojo at the end. Just the icing on the cake here. Near perfect match. I think had these guys been 10 years younger, this would have been a 5-star match. But even with the age factor, you wouldn't know these guys were like 43 and 55 the way they were working. Number 5, I had the Dragongate USA match, Lucha Solos against Los Hermanos de la Jungle. This was just fucking awesome. These were 4 guys I had never heard of before, let alone seen before. And they pulled out just crazy shit. It was just as fun the second time in December that it was back in April. This was my favorite match far and away of WrestleMania weekend. Rewatching it only cemented that. He had a couple spots where the spots being set up were a little telegraphed. It didn't feel as smooth as it did live, because live I was just so blown away. I had no idea who the hell these guys were. And a lot of the guys they brought in that weren't Dragongate for this show were pretty like below average to average. And then these guys came out and just did this thing where it felt like they were flying from fucking corner of the room to corner of the room, pulling out crazy stunts. Rewatching it in November. Not November, December. Rewatching it in December and kind of knowing the history these guys had, it made sense that they could pull off a lot of the stuff they pulled off, because they've done this match a lot on the Mexican Independence. But this was one of their bigger stages, despite the attendance in the room. I think a lot of people got eyeballs on this. Got Los Hermanos de la Jungle booked in Japan. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Lucha Solos get a tour at some point in 2026. Coming in at number 4 was the Crazy Fest main event. El Desperado against Jun Kasai against Masaaki Takeshita. This was just a bloody spectacle, and I really loved it. I felt kind of the same way I did back in March when I reviewed this. 3-way matches and kind of multi-man matches fall into the trope of your turn, my turn. I hit a big move, one guy rolls out, and then the next guy starts, and you're kind of just taking turns instead of having a match. And that's a big reason I don't really like death matches. Death matches kind of follow that same structure, where it's like, I'm going to put you through this glass, and then I'm going to set up the next spot instead of going for the pin or like making it a fight. It's more just stunt after stunt. But I thought these 3 guys meshed those 2 kind of tropes and flaws of those match styles together to where it didn't really feel like it didn't flow, because you still were doing the same things. One guy would go through a pane of glass, but he would roll to the outside, covered in blood and pain and in glass, and then the next guy would roll in and they would fight and hit each other with light tubes and shit. So it didn't feel as fake. It felt more like a real fight in that way. And I think having the 3rd guy to break up pinfalls, and I thought they built it very well, especially as someone not super familiar with death matches. A lot of the spots they pulled out, I was like, what the fuck is that thing? Just a blast, a bloody, brutal blast. Loved this a lot. Coming in at number 3 was my favorite Dragongate match of the year. If you follow the channel, it shouldn't really be a surprise what that is. That's the Kobe World Triangle Gate match. Love&Peace against Z-Brats against Team Mexico. I thought this was the closest Dragongate got to like the golden era Dragongate tag matches of the early 2000s, or late 2000s, early 2010s. The Love&Peace guys have great chemistry with a lot of these guys. It was a great matching of guys that have great chemistry together. Monte has great chemistry with Jacky and Riiita. Mochi Jr. and Ishin have great chemistry together. Flamita can just work anyone. Bandido was a little clunky like he typically is, and Kato is not quite the workhorse of the rest of these guys. But when you got, 5-6 guys out of the 9 that have great chemistry with each other, it was just magic. Because you got 9 guys in the ring, the action never lulls. It's constant. Like, looks like it's on fast forward speed, 2x speed, which I always really love in wrestling. As someone that watches a lot of sports and combat sports, a lot of the getting lost in it with wrestling, the traditional tropes don't really work with me. because it's so like plotting. So that's why I gravitate towards Dragongate, because I think what allows me to kind of get lost in the kayfabe of it is the fact they're moving so fast. You don't necessarily have time to think about how long they're on the ground, and you know how two guys don't like lay on the ground just heavy breathing in real fights and stuff. You don't get that in Dragongate because there's constant movement, and this match kind of showcased that the most. And with you know, you got the Love&Peace guys, you got the three guys from Mexico, so you got a lot of lucha libre, a lot of crazy stunts, a lot of dangerous looking shit, especially with Bandido's botches. I just think this match from beginning to end is just a blast. It's a roller coaster the whole way through. Coming in at number 2 was the Hollywood ending, Toni Storm and Mariah May. This is one of 2 matches that I watched twice, went 5 stars both times on it. I wasn't really a big fan of this story, especially in hindsight. I don't really have a great taste in my mouth about Mariah May overall as a worker, but credit where credit is due. I thought this match was perfect. I thought they executed everything about as well as you could. And even the stuff that didn't work perfectly, I think kind of fit the bloody brutality of it. And this is just awesome. I think when I think about 2025, this is one of the matches I would go back to watch, especially because it's not like a long epic. I think it's under 15 minutes or right around 15 minutes. So it's an easy breezy watch, something easy to show to non-wrestling fans or people that aren't in the loop. And I think kind of shows all the best things that AEW has to offer, oddly enough. And my match of the year was Mystico and MJF from the 92nd anniversary. This is kind of the men's version of that Hollywood ending. They didn't have the storytelling trope of 18 months, but what they did have is just kind of traditional wrestling. National hero taking on the foreign heel, the shitbag heel. Everyone in that arena, whatever it is, 15,000 people, all rooting for the same guy, all hating the same guy. And the 2 wrestlers being 2 of the best in the world, just playing up to that. Everything worked here. Nothing crazy, nothing like jaw dropping. Just guys that, you know, worked every ounce of emotion in that match. That really made this special. Mystico went absolutely insane with the fucking blade drop. That really added to the magic of this match. I think without that, this match isn't nearly as special. The perfect amount of just like classic pro wrestling here. And so you see all these matches I have on the list here that are lightning speed, crazy lucha, blood and guts, all that stuff. And yes, this match did have blood, but this is really as traditional pro wrestling as it gets. And when pro wrestling is done right and like this, there's nothing better. So that is the match of the year. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Have a good one. Bye.